Good evening. Many thanks for joining us and welcome to CoreTV News at 7 with me, Emmanuel Ezekiel. President Goodluck Jonathan plans to formally hand over his successor, Muhammadu Buhari, on May the 28th. He has consequently mandated heads of ministries, departments and agencies of government to make their handover notes available before April the 28th. Minister of Information Patricia Kwashike disclosed this to State House correspondents at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. She added that already 2 committees headed by Vice President Namadi Sambo and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Pius Ayim, are already making arrangement for a H-free transition.
You know, we are already in transition, so there is very little to report. What we discussed with the President and Council is he emphasized on the need for all MDGs and government parastatals and department agencies to submit their handing over notes to the office of the SGF by the 20th. That is next Monday. So we are going to be very busy this weekend putting our notes, handing over notes together. The President also emphasized that he would require another little briefing from all MDGs to indicate inherited projects, how far it has been executed, and initiated projects by his administration, and the level of completion, whether completed or ongoing or abandoned. So that was it at the Executive Council. We discussed other issues, but we are particularly paying attention to the transition, how we would make it effective. As you are all aware, we have a transitional committee already set up by the President, headed by the Vice President. Other than that, we also have an inaugural committee that is headed by the SGF. So everything we are doing towards achieving a smooth transition, getting all our notes together. By the 28th of this month, the President intends to have the formal handing over done at a dinner, so that we can reserve the 29th for the incoming. By the 28th, we expect to have concluded everything about governance, and we're welcoming the incoming government by the 29th. Also, you know that 29th is our Democracy Day, so we have activities lined up all through that week, showcasing what we have achieved and all other things we do normally on our Democracy Day, except that this year is special with the inauguration of our new president that is coming up on the 29th.
The Senate has meanwhile called a meeting of a Constitution Review Committee to deliberate on President Jonathan's decision to reject the amendment. At least one senator also raised a point of order and insisted that issues raised by the President needed to be discussed at plenary. Senate President David Mark agreed of the need to deliberate on it, but noted that all the senators needed to go through the 7-page letter before taking a stand.
So many weighty issues have been raised by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the letter you just read. And I think it is important for us to discuss that letter and see whether there is need for us to consider the letter or not. I think he has raised very serious fundamental issues, especially in terms of our functions as lawmakers and in terms of also his own position as the Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The first reaction is for me to make copies available to everybody. And then they go and you study it. And if you notice, there is an announcement also by the Constitutional Review Committee that they are going to meet. So that will straight away go to them. I agree with you that weighty issues are being raised. It's a peculiar case, so everybody will be involved.
Staying with Constitution Amendment, President Goodluck Jonathan has listed 12 reasons why he decided to withhold assent to the recent Constitution Amendment made by the National Assembly. He offered his reasons in separate letters sent to the two chambers and read by leadership of the legislative houses. President Jonathan argued in the letter that the alteration of some sections of the Constitution was also not supported by 4/5 majority of the two chambers and not less than 2/3 of State House of Assembly. Senate President David Mark and Speaker Aminu Tambuwal presented the President's position at separate sessions.
I have accordingly examined the substance of the provisions and the procedure adopted by the National Assembly to pass the Act and wish to observe as follows. A. Section 4, alteration of Section 9. Section 4 of the 4th Alteration Act 2015 seeks to alter Section 9 of the 1999 Constitution by the insertion of a new Section 3A, which dispenses with the assent of the President in the process of constitutional amendment. However, this alteration can only be valid if the proposal was supported by the votes of not less than 4/5 majority of all the members of each House of the National Assembly and approved by a resolution of the Houses of Assembly of not less than 2/3 of all the states as provided by Section 9(3) of the 1999 Constitution. This is a fundamental requirement of the Constitution, and in the absence of credible evidence that this requirement was met in the votes and proceedings of the National Assembly, it will be unconstitutional for me to assent to this bill. In light of the above, I am of the respectful view that I should withhold assent until it can be shown that the National Assembly has complied with the threshold specified in Section 9(3) of the 1999 Constitution.
And from that story, we move to Kaduna, where Governor-elect Nasir El-Rufai has promised residents of the state of major developmental strides for the incoming administration. He also promised to toe the path of President-elect Muhammadu Buhari in appointing cabinet members strictly on merit. The former FCT minister made the pledge shortly after receiving his certificate of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission in Kaduna. Aside from the governor-elect, INEC presented certificates of return to all 3 senators-elect and the member-elect, Mohammed Soba, representing Makarfi and Kudan Federal Constituency. And here in Lagos, the popular Mamman Kontagora building housing the Federal Mortgage Bank and the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, on Lagos Island has been gutted by fire. The fire, which was said to have started from the generator room in the multi-story building, later spread to some parts of the building. Kazim Kasali, who was at the scene of the fire, filing this report as presented from our studios.
The fire, according to the director of the Lagos State Fire Service, Rasak Fadipe, started around 9 a.m. in the morning and was promptly attended to by consortium of fire service within the vicinity of the burning building, with the Lagos State Fire Service taking the lead.
Initially, when we came in, the fire outbreak, it was raging severely, and we've been able to put it under control with the assistance of other fire services in the state, the LASEMA, Julius Vega, UBA, MPA. We've been able to do that. Any casualty, and I've not been told of anyone at all.
Others who participated in the firefighting operation, like the Fire Department of the Nigerian Port Authority, declined to put their comments on record. Owners of the building, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, who spoke through its managing director, Gimba Kumo, says the bank and its tenants have not lost any major document. He, however, added that the bank will keep the public informed of further development once the fire is completely put off.
The building occupies 2 sites, the Marina side and the Broad Street side. Nothing has happened to the Broad Street side, and I have been informed by the ED of NDIC, not any major document from their side is lost. Not any major document from our side is also lost. But
for this eyewitness, Tunde Adelaja, the response to the fire, though a good thing, the antics of the Federal Fire Service is a thing that brings immense sadness to him.
But the Federal Fire Service too came with the camera in their hand, with the organ marching up and down. without any equipment. Lagos Fire Service, yes, they were there. They were there with rest. They were there on time. Therefore, the fact that they are distance. They were there. They came with two tankers. They came with two tankers.
The fire service are, however, still battling with the fire around 4 p.m. when CoreTV News left the scene, though it has been put under control.
Now to the kidnapped kids rescued by the police. The Orekoya children kidnapped by a nanny, Mary Akinloye, in the Surulere area of Lagos, have been rescued and reunited with the family. They were reportedly rescued by the police last night, a family source reveals. Confirming the incident, the children's father, Leke, reveals that the children were undergoing medical checkup at the clinic. He, however, refused comment if the 13 million naira demanded by the kidnapper was paid. Well, at this point, we'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories on the news at 7. Stay with us.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on CoreTV News.
Welcome back, where you can reach us following social media platforms: Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News, our Twitter handle, CoreTV News NG, and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, and then news. Our next story goes to Imo State, where the All Progressives Congress Imo State chapter has expressed dissatisfaction with conduct of the Independent National Electoral Commission in the just concluded gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections. The Director General, APC Campaign Organization, and other chieftains in the state disclosed this while addressing newsmen at the Owele Rochas complex along Okigwe Road in Owerri, the state capital. Our correspondent Ajibade Awofeso was there and filing this report.
The APC campaign DG, while delivering his press statement, said the facts on ground are enough to show that the APC candidate has indeed won the election.
We were supposed to be neutral and umpires. Our first opponent in this election was INEC. They colluded with PDP in virtually all the local governments in most states, particularly in Owerri zone and the Bisa area, prevent people from exercising their franchise.
He called on INEC to revisit the entire results, do their arithmetic well, that they will see reason to declare the All Progressive Congress candidate.
We have advantage in total number of vote casts to the tune of 79,000. We have an advantage. We also have geographical spread. We secured more than 25% of the vote cast in more than 2 days of the local governments of Imo State. But we have not been declared the winners of this election.
They, however, consent to the supplementary election if that is what it takes to clear their doubt. But in that case, it should be conducted with all form of transparency to avoid the same menace resurfacing. Ajibade Awofeso, CoreTV News, Owerri.
Now, Senate President David Mark says President Goodluck Jonathan has set a new democratic template for Africa in the eyes of the international community. This, he says, as a result of the manner the president considered defeat and congratulated President-elect Muhammadu Buhari before final results were announced. The Senate President also congratulated the incoming President and all National Assembly members who are now governors-elect. He said these in a welcome address to senators on resumption from the Easter break and the elections.
the maturity and sportsmanship displayed by President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan GCFR, who willingly considered defeat and immediately congratulated the President-elect, General Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, even before the Independent National Electoral Commission announced the result. That singular act saved us from a possible crisis and catastrophe. The President's action added value to the consolidation of democracy in our land. It raised the benchmark of peaceful democratic transition and consequently set a new democratic template in our continent notorious for her infamous sit-tight leaders. I also extend my warm felicitation to the President-elect, General Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. The President-elect has extended the hand of fellowship to President Jonathan and his team. He has also followed it up with conciliatory statements that further reinforce the unity and peace in our society.
Our next story is focused on tax returns here in Lagos, where the chairman of Lagos Internal Revenue Service, Babatunde Fowler, says the monthly internally generated revenue of Lagos stands at 23 billion naira since 2014. Fowler made this disclosure at the 2015 ministerial press briefing, marking the fourth year of the second term of the Governor Babatunde Fashola administration in office. He also affirms that the board has charged to court over 600 tax offenders at the State High Court. Also speaking at the media parley, the special advisor to the governor on taxation, Abimbola Shodipo, noted that Lagos tax net has risen from 2.7 million naira in 2011.
We filed 686 cases at the High Court of Lagos at the beginning of the year with a total liability of 11.6 billion, out of which 376 we received distraint orders on, amounting to liability of 8.1 billion. Out of that 8.1 billion, they have paid 771 million.
About 8.4 million people should be paying tax in Lagos. Of course, as of today, we are not there yet. We are not saying we have 8.4 million in our data. But again, we have made enormous progress without hurting our people. You know, we have moved from about 2 million realm to about 4 million realm. You know, gradually we will get there.
I will go for another break. This time when we come back, we'll bring you stories outside Nigeria. One is focused on the EU taking on Google, the world's biggest internet service provider. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. And Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. Now straight to news outside Nigeria, where Iranian President Hassan Rouhani says on Wednesday that Tehran will not accept a comprehensive nuclear deal with major powers if all sanctions imposed on Tehran were not lifted, state television reported. The end of these negotiations and a signed deal must include a declaration of cancelling the oppressive sanctions on the great nation of Iran. End of quote. Rouhani also says the U.S. Congress power to review a nuclear deal with Tehran was a domestic matter. Now, the EU said it's expected to formally charge Google before the close of Wednesday with abusing its dominant market position in Europe, taking on the U.S. internet giant in one of its most high-profile antitrust cases. EU Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager will submit this proposal to a European Commission meeting seeking approval to go ahead after the 3 failed attempts to reach a settlement with Google dating back to 2010. Vestager leaves later Wednesday for the United States, where the European Union probe into Google has become politically sensitive as the 28-nation bloc negotiates a massive trade liberalization accord with Washington. U.S. critics say the EU is being selective in targeting Google, and significantly, the U.S. Free Trade Commission dropped its own probe of the company, saying it had done enough to meet complaints. If found at fault under EU antitrust rules, a company faces a fine of up to 10% of its annual sales. In Google's case, $66 billion in 2014. And that's our last take on the news at 7. Many thanks for watching. Our flagship news, primetime news, will come up at 9:45. In the meantime, the reporters will kickstart in the next half hour. I am Emmanuel Ezekiel, and thanks for watching.